Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us again for another live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator. And my channel is dedicated to those of you that are just getting started in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques, things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about a topic or two. Caesar's here, so it could be a few. We'll see how it goes. But if you're not new here, then you know every week we have a new poll, and today's poll is, what is the hardest thing to keep consistent for you in an audiobook production? If you have not yet voted, go ahead and vote, because the vote does kind of guide me in what to talk about during this live session. We're talking, of course, today about keeping your audio consistent throughout the book. Now, that could include your audio quality, that could include your character voices, that could include your energy, your sound consistency, the effects to stay consistent, all of the things. I knew that that was, for me, one of the harder things in the beginning because, as we always say, there's just so many variables in the beginning, right? So you go to YouTube and you seek out somebody for the answer to one question and then come up with several other questions, or you tweak one thing and it throws everything else off. The frustration of those days. So that's why we get together and talk about these things. That way, if you have a question about something specific that you're perhaps having trouble with in your audiobook quality or consistency, then please ask. There's no such thing as dumb questions. I've asked a lot of them myself. So ask away. Of course, I have, first, before we get to the comments and get to those questions, and Caesar, stick around because I have a question for you. But I have, of course, a presentation for you. I've got a checklist that will help you. We'll go through all of the things, and then if you have additional questions, I suppose. So I'm hoping the checklist will maybe answer some questions for you. But audiobook consistency. Now, where is my copy so I can see what I'm talking about? Okay. Recording setup and consistency. Okay. Have we talked about many, many times here on my channel that we highly recommend that you have a dedicated recording space. We've gone over this a lot, especially with Caesar here on my channel. Have a dedicated recording space because once you have it set up, you don't want to touch anything. My best advice for you is once you have found a space in your residence that could serve as a place to record audiobooks, voiceovers, but we're talking more or less about audiobooks today. You want to treat the walls, the ceiling, the floor, the desktop even, right? Make sure that if you could even do the clap test, that's the easiest way to do it. If you clap and there's an echo, then something needs to be treated somewhere. Set up your desk and then set your chair in a position where you are comfortable. You can reach everything that you need to reach, right? Now, as far as the mic goes, move that to you. You don't move to the mic because you want to be comfortable in your sitting position. Move the mic to you. A good rule of thumb is to do like the old hang loose, right? 4 to 6 inches away. I know it looks like it's probably further away than it is, but you just do this. That's about a good distance from your microphone. And then that doesn't move. Your chair doesn't move. The mic doesn't move. Once everything is moved to you, nothing else moves. And then once you have your effects rack set, which does take a little bit of time, a little bit of trial and error to figure out, unless you have an audio engineer or someone like Caesar in your pocket to help you figure that out. Don't change anything. Once you have the gain set appropriately, and again, we talk about this a lot on my channel. I have a whole playlist here, audiobook production, where you'll find answers and in-depth answers to details to these questions that you may have as I go along. Nothing changes. The gain doesn't change. The effects don't change. Nothing changes. That will help you tremendously in keeping your audiobook sound consistent. So as we said, use the same microphone and interface. Another thing, I have personally done this myself. Please, if you do buy a new microphone or a new interface, don't hook it up in the middle of an audiobook. Save it until this book is done and then hook it up and use it for the next one, because it could drastically change your sound. Probably for the better, but it's going to make the audiobook sound inconsistent. So save it for the next one. Don't hook it up in the middle of a book. Don't change anything in the middle of a book. Keep your recording position, whether you sit or stand. Keep that consistent throughout the recording of the book. Record in that same place with that same consistent treatment. And of course, the gain settings, as I mentioned before, the volume of your microphone of which it records does not change. Record at the same time of day, if possible. Now, that's not always possible, and I know that. But if you've been doing this for about, I don't know, even a month or so, you'll start to realize when your voice, what time of day your voice is pretty warm, and it sounds the best as far as you're concerned. For me, it's about this time of day, about mid-morning. It sounds the best, and then till about noon and maybe just after, maybe early afternoon, and then I'm pretty tired by then. So if you can, or if you're one of those people who does this part-time and you record at night, then record it at night. Again, the key word here is consistency. So even if you are tired and you're recording at 8 o'clock at night, keep that schedule, if you can, consistent so your voice sounds the same. Warm up your voice the same way each time. And again, if you're recording at night, it's probably already warm because you've been using it all day. Stay consistently hydrated. I can't stress that enough. Have water with you all the time, because recording audiobooks is a lot more physical than you think. And not only that, but it will help to reduce the mouth noise that we get when we record. Gross, I know, but facts. Review the previous audio before you get started recording. So before you hit the record button for the next chapter that you're producing, go back and listen to, or even like spot check if you want to. Go back and listen to how your tone was or your sound was in the previous chapter or previous chapters, because you want it to sound pretty close to the same. Have your character voice references or sheet ready. Now, if you're one of those people who builds out a whole character sheet, and there are those of you out there, I personally don't. I thrive in organized chaos. But if you have references to what your character voices sounded like for each character, like audio files, snippets of those character voices, if you have character sheets, have all of that available so that it'll save you time having to track that stuff down later before you start recording. Performance consistency. Maintain a consistent pacing and tone, unless the scene calls for, faster pace, slower pace, if you're building tension, if there's something dramatic going on. Of course, this is going to be like a case-by-case thing, because you don't want it to sound completely the same all the way through. But you don't want to be like happy and bubbly in the first chapter, and then, the second chapter, even though it's the same sort of mood or tone, and you're just now like, I've had it. I'm recording this at midnight and I just can't be bothered, right? You want it to have a similar sound. The voices for your characters should sound similar. They're not, your voice, and I see this a lot, I saw this a lot in the comments too, your voice is going to change. It's not going to be exactly the same every time you record, and that's okay. Just as long as it's close enough. Stop striving for perfection. You know how much I hate that word, right? Just close enough is good. Use a reference clip as a performance anchor. As I mentioned before, that could be the previous chapters that you've recorded as the narrator, or it could be your character voices, your reference sheet. Have those available for you. Emotional tone for each chapter. Of course, you want the chapter to match the emotional tone of that particular chapter. Again, if it's something that is like there's a dramatic scene going on. You want it to be fast paced and heightened, right? Keep on top of that stuff. I'm going through this quickly because I know we're going to have a lot of questions. Editing and processing consistency. This part was important for me. Using the same editing workflow each time. And it might take you a couple of books to find a workflow that works for you. You might even streamline your processes as you go along. All good things. Now, if you're part of mentorship groups or community groups for voiceover audiobooks, I highly recommend, or if you're not part of these groups, I highly recommend joining them, because everything that I talk about in these live streams, we talk about all the time in our groups. And the support and what you will learn faster will just benefit you in this endeavor. So get into groups and learn faster. What was I was just going to say something about stopping bad habits, right? That's what it was. Stopping bad habits before they start. Anyway, that was like a squirrel moment. Apply identical processing each time. Now, what I mentioned before about having a rack preset, this was, I think, one of the more important things for me. And it took me the longest, I think, to get to a place where I was comfortable with it. Now, these are the effects that you apply to your audiobook. Again, going back to the word consistency. This is your noise reducers. This is your EQ. This is your mouth declick. This is your deplosive, your DS, all of the things that we use to improve the sound of our voices. Whatever it is that you apply, whatever effects, whatever settings that each individual effect is at, make sure that those are the same all the way through. Now, you might have more noise in a couple chapters than others, so your noise reduction might be a little bit adjusted for each, but for the most part, you want them to be the same. Again, consistency. And along the same line as your editing workflow, don't over-edit or over-process or do anything different to a chapter unless it calls for it. Now, I realize when I said that, I'm probably just confusing the heck out of you. Once you have started editing and processing your files, you want to keep that same workflow consistent across, meaning this is hard to do without showing you. As I've shown you before in other videos, when you have a clean bit of room tone that you're using to paste in, to adjust pauses, to adjust the head and tail of the file, whatever that amount is, try to keep that consistent across the board. So, for example, let's just say the room tone at the tail of your file, you've chosen to go with 2.5 seconds. Make sure that you keep that consistent also throughout each chapter or each file that you're editing. Because if you've ever listened to audiobooks yourself, which I recommend that you do if you're getting into audiobook narration, if you've ever listened to audiobooks, you've noticed that chapter to chapter to chapter, there's an even amount of space between each chapter when the chapter ends, when the next chapter starts. So if you're keeping that consistent, it's going to flow a little bit better. As I've moved into the publishing role for Academy Voices, I'm going through and adjusting a lot of files that you guys have submitted. And I've noticed this, so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned it, that the tail of the file should be the same amount of room tone time, right, for consistency's sake. Some of them I've seen, 3 seconds of silence, or not even silence, but room tone. And then the next chapter is a half a second, right? It's inconsistent time. So if I had left it, which I wouldn't because it needs to be adjusted for standards anyway, but if I had left it that way, then as you're listening through the book, chapter to chapter to chapter, the pauses between the chapter, your perception of the pauses between when the narration ends to the next one starts is going to be varied and different. It's not going to flow as nicely. I hope that makes sense. So whatever workflow that you're choosing, keep that the same throughout. My workflow is when I record, I save it, and then I apply my effects rack, and then I save it, and then I edit it. I remove the retakes, I adjust the pauses, I get rid of the big ugly breaths, right? Not all the breaths, just the ones that have like a throat gurgle or a big, or something like that. I'll remove those. I'll adjust the head and the tail, and then I will normalize it and then test it in amplitude statistics, and then save it as an MP3 and adjust the sample and bit rate. That's my workflow every time, right? Every time, consistent. Because you can hear the difference in the order in which you apply things as well. I feel a tangent coming, and I'm going to pump the brakes on that right now because we need to get through this and not spend all day here. Oh, God. Let's get to pickups because I'm seeing a lot of questions about pickups. So with pickups, let me go to the next page here. Pickups was another thing that was really hard for me because our voices are a little bit different every day, and because even if we use the same effects rack time after time after time, as I've mentioned before, the same effects rack will have a different end result on a file, an audio file that is a minute long versus an hour long. I found that out the hard way. And even worse still if it's a couple of words versus a couple of sentences. So when you're doing pickups, again, all the other rules apply that we said. Make sure you're in the same place, in the same position, the same mic distance. Your voice sounds close enough in terms of warmed, right? And then don't just record the word that you goofed. Re-record the whole sentence or even a couple of sentences, and then apply your effects rack to it, and then copy that and then paste it in where you goofed, and then normalize the whole file, right? Because normalization is hard to match up later within a file. So I always leave normalization as the last step, so that way it's all processed together. I hope that makes sense. But the biggest thing for me was not to just record the word or a couple of words to patch in. Re-record a sentence or two and then patch it in. It's much more seamless that way for pickups. I felt something else going, don't forget this, but maybe it'll come back to me. Before you even record the word that you goofed, go back and listen to how you sounded just preceding. So you match that same tone too. I forgot to mention that. Okay. Blend edit seamlessly into existing audio. Okay, I think we covered all of that. If you have, excuse me, a specific question about or something that maybe I missed about pickups, then please ask, because you have not just me, but many other experienced audiobook narrators in the chat that can answer the question for you or help you. Okay, quality control is the last thing. Here we go with the frog. Quality control is to check the files at the end to make sure that they are, dang it, ACX compliant or at audiobook standard, which is, dang it, your RMS is between -18 and -23, right? And you want to try to stay consistent with that number too. I usually shoot for -20 or -21 around there. So it's kind of right in the middle. It's not on the edge of too high at -18, and it's not on the edge of too low at like -22.63, right? I try to shoot for somewhere in the middle for the RMS. And that usually takes a little bit of practice. So just practice with that. The peaks. As we know, one of the standards for audiobooks is -3. Your highest volume peaks cannot exceed -3 dB. That does not mean that is the target level. You're not trying to get to -3. You just cannot exceed -3. I didn't realize that myself, and I know a lot of other narrators do, because once you're messing with your effects rack, you get the RMS right, and then you look at the peak and it's at -3.62, and you're like, oh my God, why can I never get to -3? It's okay there. That's not the target. -3. You just cannot exceed -3. Okay, so if you're below it, meaning you're a -3.53, it's fine. Okay. And then the noise floor was another thing. Your noise floor cannot exceed, again, target cannot exceed -60 dB. As you're listening through and editing, I listen for tone shifts between the chapters, again, just to make sure that they are appropriate for the tone that is necessary for that particular chapter. Or again, as I mentioned before, you're not happy and bubbly, maybe even within the same chapter. And then when you pick up later, you're recording chapter 1, the half of it in the morning and then the other half at night. There's a huge difference between the energy in your voice, right? Check for that stuff. Ensure consistent file naming. This is another part of your workflow that I recommend that you start the habit of doing early. Again, as I've mentioned before in a few of my other videos here on my channel, my naming conventions are I start with 00, underscore, the name of the book, underscore, and then whatever this file represents. So 00, underscore, title of the book, underscore, opening credits. And then I will increase the numbers from there. So then the next one would be 01, underscore, title of the book, underscore, introduction, which is usually the first thing, right? If you use the table of contents on the book, and this is usually one of the first things I do, is I'll take the table of contents and use that as my guide to then create all of the files up front. And then I'll go into the metadata even and add in chapter 1, title of the chapter, chapter 2, title of the chapter, right? You don't have to, but it's a habit that I started early on that I've continued on to this day. That way, when you're saving the files or uploading the files or doing anything with the files, the computer is automatically gonna categorize or put them in order by that number, right? So however you upload it, it's going to show them the files in that order, which is helpful for not only for you, but for the author that receives them as well, if you're not uploading them directly to ACX yourself. I hope I'm not confusing. I hope I'm not just confusing you guys. Double check the export settings. Make sure that you are exporting the files as MP3. Make sure that you're exporting them in the appropriate sample rate and bit depth. There was something else that I had to mention about that. Oh, for you Audacity users, make sure that it's not exporting as the exclusive to Audacity only file of AUP3, I think it is, .AUP3. Make sure it's MP3. Just wanted to throw that out there. All right. What are we doing? We're done with this. We're done with this thing. Let's go over to the comments and see if we have some questions. How's everybody doing? How was your Easter? How was your Easter, everybody? Hope you guys got some rest. I was able to rest a bit. I took like a half day on Easter. Sean was here before I was. Hey, Sean. Good morning, all from Nashville. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things. I appreciate it. Wherever you're watching this, push all the buttons. Smush them all. I appreciate it. Sean says, I know we're supposed to keep things in their place for consistency, but I adjust how I'm sitting which changes my mic distance. I readjust my mic arm to follow suit and check distance and axis. Even as I'm sitting here, I'm readjusting my legs and my sitting position, but I'm not touching my microphone. There is a little bit of leeway in the pickup pattern of most microphones, and this is a shotgun mic. I think with me moving around, my sound probably didn't change that much, right? Which is why I say it's important for your chair and your mic. The distance between those two and the positioning between those two shouldn't change. Because even if you're moving around in your seat a little bit, your mic doesn't need to be exactly the same distance. You have a little bit of leeway in the pickup pattern. So I don't think constantly adjusting it is probably the right thing. But again, variables. There's going to be lots of variables from studio to studio. But just something to keep in mind. Caesar! Caesar says, oh, hi, Angela. Now, here's another poll where I can confidently say that all 4 points are no longer difficult to keep consistent, not for you. With one small caveat, performance, energy. Sometimes we're just tired. Yes, and I can imagine you would be. Oh, I wanted to ask you, Caesar, if you would be open to doing another live here with me on microphones specifically. We can go into microphones, or I think you had mentioned effects racks a while ago. What do you guys think in the chat? What would you guys like to see in terms of having Caesar on here with me? Microphones or effects? Which would you rather talk about with Caesar? But you're right. I mean, sometimes you're just tired. Sometimes you just need a break. And that's also why I always say, whenever you give a time frame to finish to a client, pad on a couple of extra weeks, maybe a week, depending on the length of the book, a week or two, because sometimes you are just tired. Sometimes you get sick. Sometimes the kids get sick. Sometimes you're just not feeling it. Take that rest day. Take that rest day. Ken says, just completed the pickups and rereads of my current project, listening with great interest in ways to make the next time easier. Worse when trying to match an accent or speech pattern. Oh, yes, I know. It is, and it's okay if it takes a lot of retakes. Sometimes it just does. Sometimes it's just going to take whatever it takes. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean, it's time consuming, I know, but sometimes it's just going to take a little extra time, and that's okay. But you're right. I'm not good at accents, at all. Caesar says, in fact, sometimes it's not just being tired. We may lack motivation. We may even become paralyzed by overthink. I'm looking at most of you out there because I know that's what's happening with most of you. Overthinking too much. And worry about whether our performances sucked, so we re-record the last 8 chapters. Yeah, I don't allow myself to do that anymore. No. Caesar said, so yeah, that's a thing. Ultimately, what I recommend is a good night's rest, a strong cup of coffee, and a little time with the VO community to ground yourself before going back to your studio. Absolutely, 100%. Sometimes you just need to rest. Sometimes you just need a rest day. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning. Caesar says, that said, hello, everyone. Really hating these gas prices. Oh, God, tell me about it. I filled up my gas tank yesterday. It was $25 more than it usually is. That's all. I'm buying a motorcycle. Don't care. Gonna bike all the way to Vietnam. Blah, blah, blah. Good luck with that. Let me know when you get there. Ken says, any and all suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Any editing tricks to get words to match up nicely when splicing. With DAWs, at least, I don't have to use a razor blade and a tape any longer, of course. Yeah, you have the magic of technology. But to your point, as I mentioned before, what I have found is instead of focusing on just the word that I goofed, I'll re-record the whole sentence containing that word, or the preceding sentence and then the sentence after, a few sentences, right? Just so that when I apply my effects rack, it's not as concentrated on a word. It's more spread out over a couple of sentences and then splice that in instead of just the word. Scuba tanks, yeah, for Vietnam. Caesar says, oh, I knew I forgot something. Also, regarding splicing, consider punch and roll if you aren't already doing that. Then speak over the pre-roll so that you can match cadence. That is definitely one of the benefits to punch and roll. For those of you watching that don't know what he's talking about, there's 2 different ways to record. There is the clicker method, which I do because I guess I'm not coordinated enough for punch and roll, and that's fine. Or maybe just the old dog, new tricks thing. I don't know. But when I make a mistake, I use a dog training clicker, and I mark the mistake and then just keep going. And then when I come back later, I'll remove the retakes and keep the take that I like the best, and then, move on to the rest of the file. Punch and roll is when you basically stop right then and there when you make the mistake, and then start the recording over in that space and record the retake right then and there. In my head, you'd still have to go back and when you're editing, double check for breaths that were like halfway recorded over, like they were cut midway. There's still going to be a little bit of fine tuning and massaging, I think, that needs to take place with punch and roll until you get it down proficiently, right? In the beginning, especially. But those are the two different ways to record. It's about a 50-50 split, I think, in the community in terms of which way they record. It's up to you which way you want to do it. So there isn't really like a right way versus a wrong way. It's kind of whatever you're more comfortable with. Good morning, Fife. How you doing? Caesar said something about bringing a cucumber to work today. It's bring a cucumber to... it's Caesar. But you were right. They are very hydrating. Yes. Shanna says, hi. I have trouble matching pickups even though I don't move my chair or microphone. I end up recording over and over until I finally get it to match. I do listen to previous lines and even, I think it's probably continued, and even restate previous line, which I edit back out to get it to sound the same, but it's always a challenge. I would just, instead of trying to get, again, just a couple of words in there, no matter how you're trying to do it, just record a few sentences and then paste in all of those new sentences. That's the best way that I've found. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be just close enough, right? We are our own worst critics, and in every respect in an audiobook production. 9 times out of 10, the listener is not going to notice. If you're doing your job in telling the story and making it engaging enough that the client or the listener is right there with you, they're not going to notice a subtle shift. And even if they do, it's not going to register enough to make them stop the audiobook and go, what is this swill? Right? They're just going to go, oh, that sounded a little bit different. Who cares? I'm engrossed, right? Don't be overcritical and get stuck in, like Caesar said, that overthink. Don't allow yourself to get stuck there. Just keep it moving. Sean, oh, that's a good question. Are you running effects before pickups or after? That can sometimes be the culprit. I recommend pickups before effects applied. I usually, as I mentioned before with my process, I record, save, apply my effects, save, and then edit. So, and then I save that process edited file for revisions later. So if I have to come back and insert something into that, I have it. And then with that edited processed file, I'll open a brand new file, record my pickups, my edits, my revisions, whatever, apply my effects rack just as I did with the original, and then splice in, copy what I just recorded and edit and processed, and paste it in over the original, and then normalize it to -3. And that usually helps for me to make everything sound relatively consistent. That's usually how I do it. Excuse me. I saw we had a super chat. Hold on. I have not warmed up this morning. This is the first time I'm talking today, so not warm. I have not recorded anything yet today. Sean says, the challenge for me, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Appreciate you, Sean. The challenge for me doing long form narration is maintaining vocal consistency for longer than 30 minutes. My voice gets deeper and readier the longer I go. I take housework breaks every 20 minutes, and sometimes you just have to. I'm pretty close to that. If I have a lot to record, I'll take breaks. Vocal breaks, like every 20, 30 minutes. I do it the same. And if you're a voice actor, you might have, if you're recording a lot, you might have this issue. Or it might get hot in your studio, much like it is in mine at the moment. So I apologize for the noise, but it is warm in here. So if my AC turns on, Well, it's hot in this room, but apparently it's not hot enough for the AC to turn on, of course. But Sean, it just takes what it takes. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. That doesn't mean that you're, any worse at this or anything. Goodness. See, today I'm just a little more froggy. Let's see. Now, where did I leave off? Oh, gosh. We have a lot of questions. Hold on. I'm trying to find where I left off, guys. Oh my gosh, we have so many comments. Okay. Um, there we go. I think we left off on Sage. Sage says, "Good afternoon, everyone. Since I've only done chapters for LibriVox and not an entire book, I'm just going to go with all of the above for the poll." And that's fine. I mean, especially if you're in the beginning stages, all of the things that I went over today are things that I pretty much had to figure out the hard way, right? I'm incredibly hard-headed and stubborn. I wanted to be self-sufficient and not reach out to a coach or anything like that until about a year and a half in is when I finally reached out to Anthony Pica and I said, "Give me the secret sauce. I need to know," because I was kind of plateauing at that point. But, I'm hoping something I said today helps you a little bit. Maybe it's like a light bulb moment. You go, "Oh my God, why didn't I think of that?" So I'm hoping something said today helps you out. Lacey's here. Good morning. Paul's here. Good morning. Lacey says, "What a good starter mic. I've been looking at the Rode NT1 because it's pink." Oh, they make a pink version? I'm sure they make a pink version. Of course they do. Josh says, "I'm still chasing my effects rack down for audiobooks. With life, I just can't really afford an engineer right now." That's, it's tough. I think I think it was about the same amount of time, about a year and a half in, like right when I went full time, is when I hunted down Tim Tippett and said, "Help me with my effects rack," and came to find out that I wasn't that far off. My biggest enemy, much like most people I meet, was me. I was overthinking my effects rack, or maybe I was a little bit too heavy on things, and he showed me another way to achieve a better sounding end result, right? Because I was using shortcuts like limiters and things like that. So having him, he definitely helped improve or streamline my workflow quite a bit and gave me a better sounding result. But there are so many YouTubers on YouTube, voice actors, that share what they do with their effects rack. So and again, so many variables. So it's hard to kind of take what they're saying and apply it to your situation and then tweak it so it's just right. And then everything has to be balanced out. And then also the effects in your rack need to be in a certain order. So I think as long as you're part of groups and communities, you can start to learn these things just by listening to conversations about it and build an effects rack that way if you can't afford to hire someone to help you. Might take a little bit of longer and a little bit of trial and error, but it can be done. But don't also forget to get feedback on what you've created, because you don't want to, because especially if you're in that place where you're trying to get effects to suit your space and your voice, you start to become a little bit like not like ear blind. What's the term I'm looking for? You become like accustomed to what these effects are doing, like you're not really hearing the actual or what you what am I trying to say? Just to give feedback. Just give feedback on what you're doing, because you might not hear something that someone else does, right? Get another set of ears or a few set of ears on it, because you might be hearing something that you're just getting used to hearing while you're trying to tackle a different effect, if that makes sense. So if you are tackling your own effects rack, get feedback often on what you're doing. I think it's what I was trying to say. Mary Lynn says, hi all. I chose audio quality, but that's going to change with my new equipment and my presets plugins from my sound engineer, Caesar. Lisa says, good morning, everyone, from snowy, again, Alberta. It's like Mother Nature is having a midlife crisis and doesn't know how to act normal. Yeah. It was like cold and rainy here in Arizona yesterday. Well, when I say cold, I mean relatively cold. It was like 70, 80 something. Today it's going to be in the 90s in April. I don't like it. Josh says, my booth is 100% doing its job. Good. Tiger Lily says, hi, hi, hi. Hello, Tiger Lily. Ken says to Caesar, not Yeezer, it's Caesar. Yeah, I got to learn that. Would definitely help with consistency. Just need a better recording studio setup to deal with the computer noise. Move your computer away as far as possible. That was the biggest thing for me, was just getting my noisy computer as far away from my microphone as possible. Ryan's working on the demo reel. Nice. Don't overthink it. Just get her done. It's going to change. You're going to go through several different demo iterations. So just don't overthink the first one. Just get it done, and you can always replace it, upgrade it, change it, revise it later. Lex says, hi there. I chose editing and levels, but could use help with it all. Yeah, I think remembering myself in that place, it's very, very frustrating. I think, again, the best advice I can give you is join groups, join our Launchpad, join Avio's Journey Academy. If you are, the link is in the description to join. But even if it's like a Facebook group or something like that, if you find a Discord that you can get into, get to be part of those groups, because you'll learn a lot just by reading other conversations and getting involved in other conversations. You'll learn a lot. Pickle juice? Valley B voiceover says pickle juice. Really? I always got pickle juice in my house. I love hot and spicy pickles. I wonder if that would be even more effective. I'm sure it's the acid in it. It has to be. Because it's the same that's in fruit, right? When you were told to eat green apples, it's the same sort of thing. I like it, though. Rebecca says, hey, Rebecca. Rebecca says, hello, all. I'm a huge believer in having the same warm-up routine to get your voice to match each day, and when doing your inevitable pickups. Yeah, I could see how that would be helpful. Christian says, the table desk I'm using is a little low, so I have to put a small heavy box to raise the mic. If it's not on an adjustable stand, or if it's not on an arm, you guys can't really see it, but mine is on an arm. It's on a shock mount on an arm. That was the best thing for me. I mean, some of these things in your studio, I know there's a lot that you need to buy equipment-wise, and then a lot of little accessory things that you're just like, man, I just spent $200 on a microphone. I can't drop another $50 on a mic arm. Believe me, it's worth it. It's worth it, because I did the exact same thing, and then I got a table stand, and then the vibrations coming through the floor and then up through the desk and then up through whatever else I mounted it up on was making more noise and just causing more issues. Just get the mic arm and then the shock mount for the microphone. You'll be much better off. It'll save you a whole lot of frustration later trying to get the mic where it needs to be, and then, negating some of the vibrations that come through the floor. Sean says, to Lacey's voice, that's a pretty decent starter, but I'd recommend taking the time to find out what would work best with your voice. So it sounds like maybe mics. I don't know. I'm sure we'll get to those answers. Tiger Lily says, I haven't used an audio interface yet, so maybe this would be answered had I that experience. But how do you consistently control your gain from recording to recording? You don't adjust it at all. If you keep your microphone in the same place and you do a test recording, whatever DAW that you're using, open it up, hit record, and then watch your volume bar as you're recording and adjust your gain on your microphone or your interface, whichever you're using, until you're falling within like the -15, -9 range, even -18, -9 range, right? Once you're falling or your recording is within that range, then that's a good gain. Leave it there. And then just from chapter to chapter, session to session, don't touch the mic, don't touch the gain, don't touch anything. Everything should stay in its place. You know, another thing I did is I took pictures. Once I had everything set, like the hardware that I had, because I used to use a DBX preamp with a bunch of other settings on it, I would take pictures of what I had it set at last. So if it did get bumped, if someone came in and played with everything, then I would know where it goes back to. Or take a magic marker and mark on the actual thing itself where you have it set so you know where it's supposed to go. Let's see. Princess says, so I'm starting out and have limited funds. How do I get started as a beginner? I have a decent mic and a powerful laptop, but working out of my home office. Your space is much more important than the equipment you choose to start out with. I would say, based on what you told me, move the laptop as far away from your microphone as possible. If you have to get extension cords or longer cords than what you've got with your microphone or anything else, use those to move your laptop as far away as possible, and then treat the walls immediately around you, above you, below you, so that way you don't get reverb or echo, right? My laptop was an issue for the noise floor, for sure. I had to move it outside of my studio and just get extra long cables to run everything externally from it, because it was just a huge issue for my noise floor. Chris is listening on the job. I'm telling, but I'm glad you're here. Joy is here. Hey, Joy. Good afternoon, everyone, from the weather-beaten state of Michigan. My biggest problem is audio quality. I have issues with my computer fan and not able to move my computer out of my booth. You can, if you think outside the box with cables and things. You might have to get an external monitor. You might have to get Bluetooth keyboard and mouse that run off of the same dongle. There's ways to get around it if you're open to thinking outside the box. I did it. You can do it too, Joy. Dylan says, hi all. Hey, Dylan. I record late at night, so performance energy was my selection. That's why I never stop in the middle of a chapter and always re-listen to a couple of minutes of previous chapter before I record. And even if you do have to stop mid-chapter for whatever reason, you can. Just don't do anything to it. Like, don't put effects on it. Don't do anything to it. Just leave it where you left it and then come back to it. But listen back to the last couple, like the last minute or so, to see what your tone and pacing was so you can match it when you pick it up later. Not everybody can do that in the beginning, but, you know, it comes with practice and time, I suppose. Valley says, I'm such a perfectionist. I worry too much about making it sound exactly the same. I know. We all do. And then, audiobook production you'll either never be satisfied with it, or it'll take you 10 times longer than it needs to be. Or you're just, in some instances, maybe like ruining the audio quality by trying to tackle one little aspect of the audio quality over and over and over. I'm telling you, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Lacey said, what's a pickup? Is either an addition to or a revision, depending on what you're doing. Pickups are typically what you hear more often in voiceover. A revision would be, I think, more, you would hear that more with tied to audiobooks. But it's usually something recorded after it's done, either in addition to or a revision to replace something. Let's see. Joy says, I also need a better set of cables for my mic and interface. The set I have are picking up noise from my neighbor's TV, which is another big problem. Any recommendations under 75? I always recommend Mogami Gold. I think they also have some that have, someone brought a 4-pin cable to my attention that's got like a ground in it, I want to say, or some sort of a, ah, what was it for? Something about reducing electronic interference. I forgot exactly what it was called. I'm sure Caesar would know, but I always recommend Mogami Gold. Josh says, "How long a cable do you need, Joy?" He's got you. Princess says, "How do you lower the amount of background noise from home setting?" By identifying the whatever's causing the noise and either turning it off or moving it as far away as possible from your microphone. So most of the time, what causes noise is audiobook narrators recording with the air conditioner on, a ceiling fan on, their their computer too close. In my case, I've got a electrical panel here in this room, so that emits noise. Sometimes LED lights will emit noise. Sometimes, it could really be a number of things. So you might have to do a little bit of investigative work to figure out what is causing the noise. Sometimes we just get used to hearing these things and we don't recognize that it's also being picked up by the microphone. Like I said, air conditioner, record when it's off, right? Don't record while your AC or your heater is on. Ceiling fans, ground fans, floor fans, all of those things, they make noise. So either turn them off or move them away. Chris says, "No questions just yet, but tangents, yes, please." Oh, gosh, don't encourage the tangents. Valley B voiceover says, "I have been editing and then applying I always put my effects on first because I use like a D-plosive, a DS, and a D-mouth click. So as I go through and edit after they've been applied, I can only focus on what's been left over from the effects being applied. So if the effects maybe missed one or didn't hit it hard enough, I can adjust it. So it's just makes my workflow so much faster when my effects do most of the heavy lifting up front. Then I go through and fine tune it and remove retakes and adjust things after. So that's how I do it. Let's see. So Caesar has an answer for Joy. Pro quads are your go-to, and they're not that expensive, but I don't think the cable's the issue. Reposition your microphone so that the rear lobe points to your noise source. John says, "When do you increase or decrease a pause between chapters or at the end of a new important thought? Any others?" I would say this could be a whole discussion in and of itself. Pauses. Between chapters, yes, because each chapter needs to be a separate file. So therefore, the head and the tail of the file need to adhere to ACX's standards. But I would say after the chapter heading, at the start of a new paragraph, after a important thought, or even a little bit more of a pause between dialogue, so the listener's brain has the opportunity to differentiate narrator from dialogue. It's kind of a nuanced thing that just kind of needs more discussion than just a quick answer here. But I think for those of you watching with the same question, join groups. Join groups so you can hear what everybody's doing. I think also listening to audiobooks also will give you a lot of pointers. If you listen to audiobooks on Audible, you'll start to pick up on those things and you go, "Oh, okay, I get it now." Like actively listening, not just enjoying, but actively listening and paying attention to how the narrators do it. Let's see. See, that was a really fast hour. Let me see if I can go and find some questions here. Christian says, "I can't get the RMS right and the noise floor negative 60 dB. It's usually off on one of them. Maybe my voice is not consistent enough and it causes high peaks, and then limiting it causes other issues." I would say you need a little bit of compression. I've been in the exact place that you're in, Christian. If you have a lot of high peaks, That usually throws off the RMS because RMS is really just the average volume of your dialogue. So if you have a lot of peaks, those peaks are throwing off the average, right? So if you add a little bit of compression to your effects rack, that will help to bring those highs and those lows a little bit more uniform, thus affecting your RMS. Did you guys lose my audio for a minute? Wouldn't surprise me. Internet's been weird today. It's just me. Oh, it's just you. Okay. Let's see. Questions. David. Hey, David. David says, good Tuesday morning. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you. Let's see. Looks like you guys had a great Easter. That's awesome. Let's see. Caesar has an answer for Christian. High pass at the start of your chain, compress so your dynamics are controlled, meaning your peaks. So you're before the final limiter. I've worked with very dynamic actors. You would be perfectly fine. Effects. Love to hear about effects. Okay, so it sounds like more people want to know about effects, Caesar. Very funny. Looks like it sounds like effects is the thing. So Caesar, you down for a live with me for effects racks? Wendy says, I'm celebrating my first audiobook. Was published yesterday. Congratulations. And just signed my second deal. Loving your videos and thank you for all the great tips. Oh, yay. Good. I'm so glad to help. Tiger Lily says overthinking is one of my top tiers. Same. But you gotta recognize that you're doing it and then stop yourself and then move forward. Right? Don't strive for perfection because there's no such thing. Settle for, I don't even say settle, but strive for satisfied. Right? It meets the standards. I'm satisfied. I did my best. Performance-wise, satisfied. Right? Don't strive for perfection because you'll never get there. Plus, it ends up sounding, if you're looking for perfect, I mean, everybody's definition of perfect is different. And I think if we go for that perfect, it will end up sounding like an AI, right? There's going to be no human nuance to it because we're taking all of that out in the quest for perfection, right? So just go for satisfied. Let's see. Jen says, issues with same voice. My morning voice is significantly different. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course it is. So I think when I was recording part-time before I went full-time, most of the time I would record at night. So, because that's what I had available to me. So if that's where you're at, then I would just stay with night voice every time. So it's consistent. Christian says, will Audacity let you start recording in the same spot? I think Audacity, if I'm not misremembering, is that a word? I think Audacity will let you, but it'll be separate, like splices that you have to then mix down together as one file. You might have to patch them together later. Audacity's weird that way. Obi-Wan says, I would like to have someone hear me and critique. Figured out, cannot attach a file in the group chat. What are my options? If you're in our Discord, I'm not sure what your actual name is, but if you're in a VO's Journey Academy with us, then there is a thread for feedback in Discord. Or join Facebook groups if you're not in our academy. And ask if you can. Some of those Facebook groups do not allow you to do that. Mine does. If you want to join it's called the VO Workshop on Facebook. That's my Facebook group. I do allow that. I do allow demos to be posted for feedback and things like that. Tanya's here. Hey, Tanya. Evening all snuck in and lurked, but I brought chocolate and pistachio donuts. Angela's advice on pickas, I'm hungry, was a godsend for me and saves me so much time. Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Colleen is here. Hey, Colleen. Hi, Angela. Hello, all. Hard time starting unless I'm super caffeinated and super focused. Or just fumble my words. I fumble my words anyway. Sometimes it takes me many, many retakes to get through something. And I stopped beating myself up for that. It just is what it is. It's going to take what it takes. Voiceover by Lisa says, is it insane that it takes me 1 hour to edit 1 minute of recorded audio? I run effects on each line of Oh, no. Oh, no. Run your effects on the entire file. Don't run it dialogue by dialogue. Girl, we need to talk. I use Audacity. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, Ruben's here. Hey, Ruben. Good morning, Ruben. Caesar's got the recommendation on the Rode NT1. Signature series comes in 9 vibrant colors. What are you selling them? He's got the jack. He's like, hey, what you got? I got what you need right here. Of course you got a purple mic. That's awesome. Let's see. I'm not naked. Are you talking about me? I'm not naked. I got a tank top on. It's hot. I live in the desert. Why, I don't know. I just do. It's hot. Christian says to Caesar, I see Rode microphones everywhere, starting to think the Audio Technica one I bought was a mistake, but I don't think so. No. I mean, everybody's starter mic is not going to be the most ideal. Remember, your space, your recording space around you is much more important than the mic you choose. Also, do it, Sage says. Sage says, also smash the like button to affect the algorithm and support the channel. Yes, please. Click it, punch it, smash it, smoosh it, whatever the kids are saying these days. Do all the YouTubey things. Ear blind. Thank you. Yes, I think it's ear blind because you're so used to hearing yourself. Exactly. Let's see. Questions. Lacey says, also, how would one keep the computer far away from the mic if I plan on setting up a closet? I have a laptop. Again, I just got all of the cords that had to run from my hardware, whatever hardware I'm using. Like for me, I'm using, or when I had a laptop, I had an external monitor, I had my interface, and then I had my keyboard and mouse. So I just went to Amazon and I bought extra long cords for my HDMI cable from my monitor to my laptop, and then an extra long cable from my interface to my laptop. And then I got a Logitech wireless keyboard and a Logitech wireless mouse that were able to be run off of one USB, because laptops have limited I/O most of the time, meaning, input, output ports. So that's what I had to do, extra long ones, so I can move my laptop outside of my recording space and shut the door because it was loud. My mic was picking it up. So that's what I did. Let's see. Questions. Sean, you use pickle juice? Got a fresh jar in the fridge. I'm gonna go open that up. Sweat mix, dill kosher, no garlic. Oh, that sounds good. Carrie says, how tolerant are potential clients with people with physical and mental challenges? I suffer from low energy levels and can end up sleeping up to 16 hours. I think your availability is up to you. And I think, I think as long as you can get the job done, I don't think clients are going to look down on you or not want to work with you or whatever it is, whatever approach you're thinking about in this question. I think ultimately, if you're able to get the book done in the time frame, even if that time frame takes you longer, As long as they're fine with that, I think it's fine. I mean, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. We've all got some, some sort of a physical issue or a medical issue or something, Not to go into mine, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, and sometimes it just takes what it takes. So just make sure that you let the client know your availability and how long it takes you to do things. And if they're cool with it, then they're cool with it. If they have that time to wait, cool, right? Don't overthink it. Let's see. Questions. Looking for questions. Dylan says, did you say that you are your own worst enemy? Mine is Caesar. We don't have beef or anything, but I have to have an enemy. Might as well be interesting. So who's more interesting than Caesar? He's the most interesting man in the world. Mrs. Coffee says, where is a good place to get add-ons for noise that are $1,100? Are you talking about Isotope? IZOTOPE.com? That's where I get my RX11, like the suite of plugins that have the mouth declick. Yeah, it sounds like you're talking about the advanced package, because that's a big one. You don't need the advanced package, the advanced bundle of effects. You can do well with the middle one, which I always forget what it is. Is it standard? I think there's elements, standard, and advanced, right? So if the standard, the middle bundle has the mouth declick, and that's the one I recommend. And that's not $1,100. Eclairs on the back table. Thank you, Poppy. I appreciate it. I'm hungry. Sean says thunderstorms cause noise. Birds. Forgot to put phone on do not disturb. Yep, forget all those things. I usually don't work during thunderstorms. I usually turn everything off down here in the studio and just wait it out. Eric, oh God, there's so many donuts. Oh, trains. Yes. You sometimes just got to wait for it to pass. You just got to wait for it. Which I recommend you do. If you hear like a truck or an airplane or a train approaching or something, or a siren, just stop the recording and give yourself that break. Give yourself that opportunity to like rehydrate or something. Let it pass. Let's see. AJ Poppy says, my biggest noise causer is kids. Funny story. I heard a kid calling daddy in the background of an audiobook once. That's funny. Barely audible with earbuds. It was cute. Oh, that's funny. Hold on. We just got another super chat. Got so many comments. Oh my gosh. For the pickle juice fun. Thank you, Caesar. I love hot and spicy pickles. Thank you, Caesar. Caesar, are you down with another live? Did I miss your response? Let's see. Caesar says to Lisa, asking about the plugins for $1,100, consider stacking mouth declick for sensitivity 4, click widening 1.5, and declick multiband frequency skew of 0.4, sensitivity at 3.0, click widening at 2, mouth first, declick second. There we go. Caesar says, absolutely, yes, I can. Demo by screen sharing my DAW. Perfect. Rebecca said, Angela, more like try and stop Caesar from talking about effect. I know. Once you get him going, once you put the key in his back and you wind him up a little bit. I would like the next session with Caesar to be about his scuba bike ride to Vietnam. Same. Oh my gosh, you guys are so funny. Let's see. I'm looking for questions. You guys are so funny. My Caesar. Oh, sorry. Sean says my iMac fan doesn't run when using Audacity. Just saying. Nice. AJ Poppy says to Carrie Paynes, I currently have less than 1 hour to do VO work. Like Angela said, we work with our limitations. Do what you can, push yourself, but get the rest you need. Exactly. Exactly. Take the time that you need. Don't burn yourself out or push yourself too hard in the attempt to please clients. If your timelines don't match up, it wasn't meant to be. That's the way that I look at it, right? Because I mean, some clients don't really realize how long things take to do. Like a first-time author might not realize that an audiobook of 70,000 words may take someone a month or more to do. They don't know that. So if they ask you to have an audiobook of that size done in a week, then I would probably reach out to the author and say, it's almost impossible to get a book of that size done in a week. I would be in here 24/7, and even then pushing myself too hard, because there is the prep of the manuscript, right? There is the reading through, if that's what you do, then the recording, then the editing, then the mastering, then the formatting. It takes time. All of that stuff takes time to do, right? So you tell them at that point, this is going to take me, 30 days, 45 days, giving yourself a few extra days buffer. Does that fit your timeline? And if they say no, then, don't break yourself trying to adhere to it. If you can't, then it just wasn't meant to be. Yes, he did say yes on the live stream, so you're locked in now, Caesar. I'll get with you on Discord and we'll figure out when's a good time for you. Lacey's voice says, I look forward to joining the Launchpad. It sounds great. It is great. I mean, I'm a little biased, but it is. It is. It's awesome. Yep. Tiger Lily says, Launchpad is great. It is. Rebecca said Launchpad is the best. The amount of resources and help is truly invaluable. And lots of cool people. I mean, you got me and Rebecca and Caesar and a handful of others that are in the chat. Absolutely. Mrs. Coffee says, if you get a project and after reading more than the audition, you realize you aren't a good fit for that project, is it okay to tell the author you won't be a good fit and decline it? Yes. Because a lot of times, like you said, when you get an audition, you only get this much of it. Sometimes you'll get the whole entire book in the audition because the author doesn't know how to snip it or wants to give you all the context. But a lot of times it's just a little snippet. And then you get the whole manuscript and you're reading through it and you go, oh my gosh, I'm repeating the same point 15,000 different ways. Big red flag for AI written book, by the way. Or you just don't like the way it flows, or maybe the content, you're just not comfortable with it. For whatever reason, if you don't think that you're a good fit or it makes you uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, you can just reach out to the author and say, you know what, now that I've gotten the whole manuscript, I've read through it, I'm not comfortable with XYZ. You don't even have to explain why. I'm just not a good fit for this. And then cancel the contract. No big deal. Review Exchange Group to AJ Poppy says, I never promise anything to be delivered in less than a month. Same. And those are typically 2 to 4 hour books. ACX has built-in time allowances in the schedule. Can't get it all submitted in 1 week. Nope. Valley B says, Launchpad is the best. I'm learning so much. Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Joy says to Carrie Paynes, I have fibromyalgia, diabetes, and arthritis, but with my business, I never advertise my ailments, just my availability. Since I'm the boss, I create my own work schedule around them. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Well said. Well said, Joy. All right, you guys, as always, if there's something that you guys want to talk about going forward, again, these live streams are for you, so tell me what you want to talk about. If there's something you want to talk about, or like a tutorial, or maybe there's a guest that you'd like me to have on, then put it in the comments and let me know. Maybe it's something I can finagle for a future live stream. But I'm going to get going because I've got work to do, and it's hot and all the things. So I'll see you guys all next week. For those of you in Launchpad, I will see you guys on Thursday. If you're in a Vio's Journey Academy and you're in core, I'm doing the script workout for tomorrow night. Or no, wait, what is today? Tuesday. Yeah, tomorrow night. So I will see you guys tomorrow night. Otherwise, I will see the rest of you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'll see you guys then. Bye.